like, come on, just do it. Put yourself back out there, no matter how crushing it all was. Stand up, because you've stood up how many times through all of this, so do it again.
Truly. You got to imagine that even if what's the worst case scenario, right? Like you get out there and you have a really shitty performance. Something bad happens while you're out on the floor and you're like, I shit the bed on this workout. Now I'm like the bottom of the leaderboard. It's got to be better to be the bottom of the leaderboard than to have not gone, competed and had that fun and had that experience, right?
Yeah. No, and like I think that's like half of it is the environment that it creates. So exciting, and I guess that's why, in some perspective, everyone's sitting here torn about what the games are going to look like for next year too. But regardless, stepping onto a competition floor and also being an adaptive athlete, because any day and every day is a different day. So again, one day could be great for me, and I could do amazing in a workout. The next day, I could be, head deep into my vomit bucket for a workout as well. So every day looks different. I think sometimes it's the fun part about it. You're like, all right, well, I don't feel great today, so how am I going to make sure I'm successful in this? And I continue to do what I need to do and get the right stimulus and also get stronger out of this. And so it's kind of a fun puzzle game of life, but it's also a frustrating game at the time.
Yeah.
Some of the tokens. But
are you planning to go to Wilwad in December, or are you going to skip that to train for Wodapalooza?
So when I had my classification, Kevin and I were talking, he's like, you can come to Wilwad. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm very honored. And I said, but I will be with Mickey Mouse and Disney. So, well,
I love you guys. Yeah. Don't love you more than the happiest place on earth. Right. Can't say I blame you, truly.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, I go with my neighbors for Christmas every year. Starting last year, by the way.
Oh my God, so fun. Now I'm going every year got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, and we just happened to plan for the 2nd through the 6th. So I was like, sorry, Mickey.
Right. But also, like, training schedule-wise, that's kind of a lot. Like, if you got a plan for January, just, 1 month earlier is, like, a lot to peak for.
Correct. So. Because after the games in 22, my body crashed hard. And I had probably 2 months of really bad decline. So we're at the point, like, my orthos and my doctors all looked at me and they're like, you're never doing this again, are you? And I was like, yeah, next year. Yeah, I'm doing it again. Sorry, guys. I'm like, okay, can we make this like a twice a year, once a year type of thing? I was like, you can probably get 2 out of me at max, and then we're good. But yeah, it was touch and go there for a while after the games. It was really bad. And like even over the last year, I'll say that naturally work stress creates a lot, and it causes a lot of issues as well. But on top of that, I had a lot of decline. So we started to lose nerve function in my lower left leg a lot over this past year, which also made it more frustrating because when I asked to have my eligibility reconsidered, I asked and distinctly said, I would like to be viewed as Lauren for 23 and not Lauren for 22. Because if you're going to treat me as the true person I am today, I am more than eligible. And I could disprove everything they wrote in the paper with 74 video examples. And that was just very short clips. Essentially 74 examples over a 15-minute chunk of time. And they wouldn't even consider watching it. They pretty much said like final decisions were made. So I respected that, but that like 22 to 23 was a really rough year. Had a lot of drastic decline, and I also have the fun pleasure now. I have like Bell's palsy moments in my face. So if I get my heart rate too high, my face locks out, and my eye will go drastically up, and my lip will go up or down. So it's I think they're just regressive, disabilities that you have. And you hope that on your good days, you get the most out of it.
For sure.
You mentioned earlier that it was hard because it's your words, an invisible disease or disability. What's the hardest part of that? Explaining it to able-bodied people or the criticism that comes within the adaptive community itself?
Both. I actually, there was one time I was out to dinner for someone's birthday from our gym, and I had my AFO on, and this person had the...
What is that? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What is an AFO?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's called an ankle foot orthosis. Mine kind of downstairs right now, or else I'd show it to you. I leave it in my shoe. So like we joke that it's like its own leg walking around half the time, but it goes into my shoe. It supports my leg and mainly my foot, because with my loss of nerve function, I lose the ability to pick up my foot. And so, my foot drops. But on top of that, I have something called clonus spasticity. So whenever my leg feels like it wants to have a muscle contraction, it'll do it. So I have, how people sit behind a desk and they shake their leg during work? They're doing that voluntarily. My body does it involuntarily. I can't control it. I can't stop it. So there's that, and that's hard.
So wait, so you can't move your leg, but your leg can move itself whenever it wants to. Got it.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
Just
totally
decides when it wants to do its thing.
Right.
But so there was a time we were out. I had my AFO on, and someone had the audacity to come up to me and ask me if I just broke out of jail and if it was a police monitoring device.
Oh no.
How are we this desensitized as a kid in general? I mean, I was like, did we really just have someone ask me that? But
it is the worst pickup line I've ever heard.
that's what we all joked about too.
Terrible.
I'm like, that was horrible. I looked at him and I was like, you're an ass.
Yeah, that's
no.
Some people are just dumb.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, so it's hard because people also take my leg spasms or my hand spasms as just nervousness, where in reality, not even close to that. It's just the fact that it's gonna do whatever. And it's frustrating because also everywhere has paper straws now, and if you're gonna give me an open glass, this girl needs a straw. So you also have to think about how to not embarrass yourself in public too when you're having a bad flare up. So that's life. And then adaptive community. This past year I just felt got really hostile. Essentially telling people you're just not disabled enough. I'm sorry. Speaking up to your own kind of peers here. When people have the right to be upset. And, people also have the right to be upset, but be excited for the people that are going as well. And people have the right to want to share their stories and opinions, whether it is positive or a negative one. But also, if it's going to be a negative one, don't be so targeted. We're all in this community together, and for it to grow, we all have to be together. And it was hard. Because even at that, I did that article with Barbell Spin, and I was like, ooh, I'm not ready for these comments. And some of them were our own adaptive community. I was like, guys, we're not growing this by fighting each other at all. So
yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult things that I've noticed in the last season is just the real division within our separate divisions. And how, you always say you can't please everyone, and that might be true, but it seems like the divisions are more serious than that, right? They're deeper than that. There have been a lot of changes recently, and I think I, from a very outsider perspective, can kind of see and understand and respect both sides of the coin on a lot of different things. I understand from the eligibility standpoint, where people like you were truly affected in a way that is quite unfair. And I can also see the people who are trying to make the standards across the board, just the God's honest truth, trying to do their best to make it fair in a way that on paper works and works across different sports. And they're taking inspiration from other sporting events. And it's like, shit, like, okay, it's fucked up somewhere. I just don't know where. And even like all the way straight through to the recent separation of the divisions from the CrossFit Games, the division in the community is so great, where some people are like, this is amazing. It's going to put a spotlight on us. This is what we've needed. And some people are like, fuck that noise. I want to go to the CrossFit Games and be the same athlete as the CrossFit Games athlete. And I see it from both perspectives. Like there is just so very, to me, and I'm sure people have big feelings about this, but to me, it is really hard to find a right or wrong. And so what is it like for you within that community to try to navigate the waters of like basically not even knowing if you can say you're for or against where the sport is going? Like that's tough when it's part of your identity.
Correct. And I will say that, and like here's the backstory. No matter what happened last year, the flip side is also someone had to put their neck out to get it to the games to begin with. So no matter what took place in 22 or 23 for the games, no one should ever take away from the team that did also bring it to the games and get it to where it was, because that's a staple in itself. And I think that is a big message that was missed as well. Everyone was just focused on what was happening in 23 and then eligibility, yet forgot that there was this person that put their neck out there. And actually, like, we wouldn't have this to be upset about if it wasn't for one person bringing it there. And yes, I know it's more than one person, but the moral story is like someone who actually stepped up and said, this should be a part of our community. Right. And that person has now domino effect changed a lot of lives in retrospect. So coming forward to today, I think, again, message of Wheel WOD and that same purpose and all of it driving forward is great. It has more exposure. It gets, finally wheelchair athletes, short stature athletes, blind athletes to, a competition floor. But what I will say is that I just hope that the magic that the games is, so the magic of being under the lights, being on the floor, being, in the presence of elite athletes. We are also elite athletes, but being in the presence of people who have motivated us throughout our journeys, that part will be missed. But as long as they can make an environment where it feels special to step on a floor, you're under this light, you have, the camaraderie, you have a community cheering you on of people who in the stands don't know you and people that do know you and fellow adaptive athletes cheering you on is really what it's about. Trust me. The more I thought, I was like, man, this stinks. Like, we don't get to go to the games. Well, no, we're going to go to the games. But what I will also say is half the magic is feeling special. Feeling like, like you go back into Noble and you try on all your stuff and you get your gear and you get your swag and you kind of come out and like you feel like, hi, I've accomplished something and I'm here. So if there was one thing to say, like if moving forward with the CrossFit Games, and even though it's going to these separate kind of divisions and communities, I hope that whoever that lead sponsor is for the CrossFit Games still gives the same amount of attention to the masters, to the team, to the adaptive in terms of what they're also producing and giving to them. Yeah. I was talking to someone who said they had a team go to Pitt and Victory Grips sponsored Pitt. And he's like, oh, so like, did you come on with some grips and stuff? And they were like, no. But Victory Grips sponsored Pitt. So like, how does like, that's where the magic gets lost. Like, and like the power of making it feel like I'd gotten somewhere. And I think that if CrossFit needs to master something like this divide, that's what they're going to need to master.
John, you've been saying that. for a
Oh,
little
I
while.
have so many opinions on this. So many. I don't think the break off of adaptive is a bad thing. The more I think about it, I mean, if you really, really think about adaptive competition, you guys aren't even playing the same game as the CrossFit Games elite, quote unquote, elite people.
Yeah.
It's the workout. You could do the